Where do I even start? My girlfriend has been living with me and my family for the past 2 years. She got into a huge fight with her dad and decided to move out. My mom, being the kind person she's always been, offered to let her live with us. I agreed. Of course, I loved her. No, I've always been somewhat of a jealous type in a relationship, but not the crazy kind. My suspicions first arose about a year ago when I was playing this board game, Codenames, with my sister, her boyfriend Alex, and my girlfriend Stacy. Stacy and Alex were on a team together, and right away, I didn't like the energy they were giving off. She was laughing at all his jokes, and he was teasing her about some shit. It all just looked flirtatious to me, and I wasn't having any of that. That night, I talked to her about it, and she told me that it was nothing. During this time, I was going to school and had a job working as a cook, so I was out of the house most of the time. Some days, I wouldn't get home until midnight. My parents and sister worked from 8 to 4 p.m. Stacy only worked weekends, and she took her schooling online. Alex is in construction, but his schedule is 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Most of the day, Stacy and Alex were home alone together. My suspicions only grew ever since that game night. Every time they were in a room together, Stacy would barely look at him anymore. They'd make small talk here and there, but I could tell the dynamic of their relationship had changed. I confronted Stacy again, asking why all of a sudden she was acting so awkward around him. And she said it's because she doesn't want to upset me. At this point, I felt bad for making her feel guilty. I said I'd never bring it up again, and I kept my word. Until 6 days ago. I was lying down in the couch upstairs in the living room. Stacy was in the kitchen, which was somewhat visible from where I was. Alex came downstairs and starts making lunch for himself. I couldn't really see what they were doing, but I pretended not to care, holding my phone up to my face. I could barely see their figures in the back door's glass reflection. They were shifting around each other, trying to do their own thing, when all of a sudden he slaps her ass. In that moment, I froze. Every part of me flared up. After Alex went back upstairs, I got up from the couch, went to the front door, and put my shoes on. Stacy comes towards me and asks, "Where are you going?" I told her that I saw what had just happened. Then I left and slammed the door behind me. She chased after me, getting all angry, trying to act as if nothing happened. I told her what I saw, which just made her even more upset. "So you're saying you didn't see it then? You thought you saw it. You wanted to see it, just to justify your psycho thoughts," she exclaimed. At this point, she's threatening to break up with me, saying she's going to move out and live on her own, making me feel guilty by saying she's broke, that she'll have to drop out of school and work full-time at a shit job. As much as I wanted to just end all of it and let her go at this point, I caved and apologized. I apologized for everything, begged her to stay, and promised to never bring it up again. It took a lot of convincing, but eventually she decided to stay, and we walked back to the house. But I knew what I saw. I just needed hard evidence. That same night, I ordered a tiny black hidden camera from Amazon. A couple days later, it arrived. I set it up in the living room next to the kitchen, just at the corner of one of the curtains. The next morning, when everyone was still asleep, I discreetly took out the chip, put it in the USB, and quickly went through the footage on my laptop. Nothing. I cleared up the space and put the chip back into the camera. And then 2 days later, I finally got what I wanted. I woke up before everyone else again and viewed the chip. At approximately 3:15 a.m., I saw Alex slowly walking downstairs and sit on the couch. A few moments later, Stacy walks upstairs from our room. She carefully walks over to him, sits on his lap, and they begin to make out. I couldn't bear to watch anymore. I was in complete disbelief. The girl who I spent 4 years with, the girl I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with, cheating on me with my sister's boyfriend. All this time, lying to my face and making me feel guilty. I went back downstairs, woke Stacy up, placed the laptop in front of her, and played the video. As soon as she realized what was happening, she instantly closed it and froze. Nothing was said for what felt like an eternity. Then she started crying, trying to utter words until I finally spoke up. You're the most conniving, disgusting sociopath I've ever met. Start packing your shit right fucking now, or I'm sending this to everyone you know. We're done. What followed was a very long, pathetic, sorry excuse for an apology that I don't even want to get into. Eventually, she called her dad. He came by and picked her up, so I guess she's going to live with her family again. A lot of her things are still here, and she doesn't have any friends to deliver it to, so I have no idea what to do with all the shit. As for my sister and her boyfriend, he's also been kicked out of the house and now has his own place somewhere. Who knows? Maybe Stacy might even move in with him. I don't fucking care at this point.
I conducted a paternity test behind my wife's back on her 12-year-old son. A little backstory before I get to the meat. My wife and I met when I was 20. We had a drunk hookup the first night we met. We continued seeing each other after that night though, and a few weeks later, she found out she was pregnant. So we stayed together, and I proposed a few months later. I had doubts about her pregnancy lining up with our timeline, but I never brought it up or discussed it. Not to mention, I was in the military and deployed a few months later. My proposal weighed a lot on her carrying my child. I grew up in a home without a dad, and I never wanted that for him. Fast forward 12 years, we are still married. Though it has been extremely volatile and rocky, I've stayed together honestly because I could never part from my son. I can't let him live to grow up with an absent father. So I've made it work. Our marriage is dead outside of our child. I ran into an old friend who I knew around the time I met my wife. He asked if I was still with her, and I said yes. He then mentioned how it was crazy I dated her, and then you stole her from me. I wasn't sure what he meant and asked him to elaborate. He said, it's no big deal, but I was seeing her up until that weekend you met her, man. I dropped it, but inside, my doubt and insecurities ran wild. I couldn't get it out of my head. I broke and bought a home DNA test kit and used it on my son without telling my wife. So the results came back today. He is not my son. 0% chance I am his biological father. I am destroyed. My whole world is upside down. I'm just on autopilot at the moment. I don't know how to act or feel. I'm just a zombie right now. One thing I know is no matter what, he is my son. I've been by his side the moment he was born and will absolutely never abandon him. Absolutely nothing will change that. What I have decided is how, if at all, can I bring it up to my wife? I mean, I feel my whole marriage was a lie. I can't help but wonder if she knew. How do I confront her? Regardless that I'm not in love with her, I still love her. This will crush her. This will absolutely devastate her. I don't know what to do. I plan on seeing a counselor ASAP. So many emotions and thoughts flood in my mind. I just need some help to bring me back down.